Order the Park Board meeting, City of Brainerd, Minnesota, City Hall, Council Chambers, Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021, 4 o'clock p.m. Will you please lead us in roll call? Actually, we have all members present, so roll call not needed. All right, very good. So I'll look for someone to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, do we have any additions or changes to the agenda?
I do have one item.
Sorry, I do have one item.
Please. Hitchwain
sled garage.
All right, we've got it. Thank you very much. I'm going to add that. I'm going to turn that into item 8C, and I'm going to turn the approval of the campground rates for 2022 into item 8D. So we're going to put it after the master architect contract hearing. Do we have any other changes or changes to the agenda? If not, looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
And we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. We've got an agenda. Consent calendar. Notice of public, all matters listed are considered routine by the board and will be enacted upon one motion. There's no separate motion discussion for each of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the board votes on the motion. This includes the approval of the minutes, the approval of disbursements, financial reports. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Very good. All right. This will bring us now to our first item, which is item. Let's see here. What do I got? I have item 6. This is our first one here. Is our presentations. What do we got first here, Mr. Sandy? Please, will you set us up on this?
Not here.
I think he was calling in, right? Yeah, thank you.
Yep, I am online. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Perfect. So, in the agenda request, you can see we had a meeting with the Brainerd Bees in October and discussed the possibility of the Bees playing at Mills Field. I think we have a couple members there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they were going to be at the meeting tonight to discuss with the park board some of their ideas about the potential future use of that facility. Some of the things that staff is requesting the board consider. The Bees offered to help with some improvements around the field, including volunteer labor and maintenance on game nights. And then if we want to go with some sort of contract, a yearly contract, if that's where the board wants to go with this. So I guess I'd leave it to the Bees to kind of give their background and kind of what they're looking for, and then we'll open it up for some discussion.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Sandy. All right, so at this time, I'll call anybody up who'd like to address the board. And if you could, yeah, please just come on up. We'll make sure the microphone is on for you there.
Yep, we're good.
Yep, looks like it's on. Just state your name. And,
Sure. Hi, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Ladies, gentlemen, my name is Brian Gabrielson. Worked with Tim Martin here this past summer on the Brainerd Bees. And my son we moved back to the area. Wife grew up here, grew up in the cities. And I kept asking Tim one question: why don't we have a place to play here? We kept driving everywhere. I think we had two games maybe at the college. And so we just started toying around. My son played on the high school team this past year, and we started thinking, why are you the only people over here at the field? And so we just started throwing around the idea, what would it take to get the Bees back into Mills Field this year? When we were at a number of the high school games on the JV side, field needs some upkeep. There's a coat of paint, a coat of stain, a number of different things that place needs. And then there's some expertise that we can bring to maintain those fields and keep them in good shape. My understanding that there's 5 tournaments that get played here each year too, and we could help keep those things in shape for that. So we just started talking. We're looking for a place for the Bees to call home, bring amateur baseball back here to Brainerd on a consistent basis. I was also struck by the water ski outfit. I forget the name of them. We went down there. There were thousands of people that came out just for a free night on, of entertainment there. I think we've all been starved during COVID looking for something to do. And we just started thinking, imagine 20, 40 games, whatever we can come up with for a schedule this year. We can revitalize that end of the town, bring some people out for a great night of baseball. Tim's done an amazing job for the last 30 years running this team, keeping it in play. I don't think he thinks it's been 30 years, but from the story he told me it's been. And it would be a lot of fun. We have a third sort of partner in this endeavor, and that's Brian Voigt, who coaches over at the college. Brian couldn't be here tonight. He's ill. But Brian, Tim, myself would anchor this. We'd bring a small army of people in there, get that field in shape, looking the way it needs to look. And in return, for the first year, we're looking for a place to call home for the Bees. So what'd I forget?
I can give a little background.
Okay, come on up.
The Bees, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your time, everybody. Like Brian said, I've been running the Bees since '92, so about 30 years. And when Bruce Erickson was on the team when I first started, and Bruce was a Parks and Rec director. Kim was here. I don't know if anybody else was. I don't think so. Anyway,
Tim's pretty old.
yeah, but not.
I wasn't here yet.
You weren't here yet.
wasn't
I didn't
born
think
yet,
so.
I moved this town in '96, I think.
Okay, well, anyway, Bruce, being the Parks and Rec director, we just played our games at Mills. And we maintained the field, we dragged the field, we prepped it, we took care of it afterwards. We did a little bit of everything. And, Bruce brought in the stadium back, Kim, you can, 94. So as we did that, we cleaned up we did everything that we could for the ability to use the field. And we dragged it, we did everything. And we just had that agreement with Bruce and everybody else. And when Bruce left, that agreement changed. And so we moved over to the high school because we had tight, ties with Coach Searcy and the crew down there, and they let us use the high school field for no charge. We maintained it, did the same thing. We dragged it, we chalked it, we cut sod, we fixed mounds, we cleaned the bleachers, we did whatever we had to do so we could use the field. And, we don't make a lot of money. We just kind of self-run ourselves. So when COVID hit, the school district changed their policies, and I talked to Charlie Campbell, and he said, you're going to have to pay this and do that. And I went, oh. Well, COVID hit, and the seasons changed, and we didn't have any home games that first year in 2020, but we only played for 6 weeks, so it was not a big deal. Last year, we started in May. We still didn't have a field. Brian came along and said, hey, we could do some of this stuff, but we were able to utilize the college field for a couple games, because with Brian being the coach there. And again, we did the maintenance and we did all of that. And I know from the city standpoint, there's liabilities issues with us dragging the fields and things like that. And so we can do whatever proper channels we can do, hopefully, and work out some type of agreement with the park board and with the city so we can use Mills again and, like Brian said, upgrade the facility, paint the fences, paint the backstops, do whatever it takes, work on the field. Because no offense to any of your crew and your staff, we've been working on fields, many of them, for 30 years. I have anyway. So I have a pretty good understanding of how to work on fields and fix fields and make them nice for these tournaments you host when you have outside teams from the other communities coming in and seeing this beautiful facility that hasn't been utilized enough the last few years. So if there's anything we can do to help with that and have the ability to use a field, we're all ears. It boils down to what everybody here has to say and do with that. So we'd just like to have a home field and host teams here.
So let me just have one of both of you stay up there, and then I'm just going to open up for questions or comments to the board here, guys. So if anybody has any questions for either one of these two, now's the time.
Well,
Okay.
we have certain
Mr. Boder,
rates
please.
for our nightly field usage fees or whatever. So what would you propose to alleviate those fees or minus those fees, or lower them, I should say, for some of the in-kind stuff you might want to do? Do you have a budget that you would be able to use or stick to that we could base it, what is it, $85 a night to rent a vehicle, the
Is that what the
stadium?
lights are?
Right now, it's 150.
Oh, 150, okay.
But that being said, I sent this to Paul years back when the last time the bees were using the field. I looked back at the bees, and they had a $30 an hour. They had a reduced rate. It was 30 daytime, 50 nights.
See, I don't even remember paying those fees, but Kim
It
knows.
was in their fee schedule.
Yeah, right. I probably came in and wrote checks,
Don't
I-
remember that either.
it's a long time ago.
It was in the fee schedule.
Sure, right.
I think part of what they're saying is they would perform field maintenance and different tasks to help alleviate that fee schedule.
Yeah, I think we'd walk, to your point, we'd walk in initially, the whole place, all that wood decking along the third base and the first base side needs a refurb. It needs staining or a paint job of some sort. And there's some just overall maintenance around that whole place that we'd come in and freshen up and make it look nice for everybody.
Paul, can you hear?
I can now. I couldn't hear anything Kim said, but
She was talking bad about you. Actually, did you guys have any discussions on this as far as them, liabilities of them doing work there at the field? I know we've had some of these discussions about about youth baseball using, the association using the fields, and we did pay fees for the tournaments but just for staff being there. But yeah, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you don't charge anything for people to come and watch the games, correct?
We may get to that point. That's the ultimate goal, is to build this back up to where we can start charging some admission. I mean, it holds a lot of people, be nice to put that back in there. So our thought was, we need a season to get this reestablished. Teams don't even know we have a place to play, right? We're always going to Sartell and all over the central Minnesota here. So if we had a season to get this in place, put a name for ourselves, then we're in a much better spot to come back and talk to you guys next year.
Do you play weekends? Is that correct?
Mostly weekends. We'll play a Wednesday night, periodically a Friday night, but it's mostly Saturdays when, a lot of teams play during the day.
Right.
There's a lot of facilities
Right.
that have lights, but, everybody playing during the day is a lot easier for people, with the amateur baseball anyway.
And if it helps,
we did have.
go ahead.
We had some conversations about this, answering Troy's question. I think there's definitely an ability to, if we can get some sort of agreement written up between entities and the city, discharging any liability from either party to do field maintenance and things like that. I think that's definitely an opportunity for us that we should explore with the city attorney, if this is a direction the park board wants to go.
Could I be grandfathered in working for the Parks and Rec from 83 to 90 on any liability issues? I did work at Bain Park for 7 years as a kid, so anyway, just kind of kiddingly.
Jennifer, what does insurance do for us for that?
I can certainly check with our city attorney or our insurance in the Minnesota League. Paul, do you know? I'm just thinking this must be.
If we have an agreement in place, we might require that the bees carry liability insurance for use in our facility, and then we would just have clauses that waives any kind of liability due to neglect or damages that might occur during routine field maintenance or doing improvements on our behalf.
And that would cover liabilities for like stepping on a ladder and painting the fence, that kind of thing?
Yep.
Let me jump in here. I think basically what's being asked of us is if in general we are in favor of the bees being there. And I think what we would do is if we come to a consensus that we are, then we would turn this back over to city staff as well as the bees to kind of grind through the nitty gritty and then come back to us with a proposal. So as opposed to all of us, trying to navigate and negotiate all the nuance of what might be in play here. I think, if I'm understanding correctly, Mr. Sandy, you're just looking to say, for us to give you an idea of, yeah, we're in favor of this, or this isn't a good fit for us. Is that correct, Mr. Sandy?
Yeah, exactly. I think we can work through the details with the city attorney. He'll know, I'm sure he's done something like this before for other cities he's worked for. So we can certainly, if you guys are in favor of this and support this, we can go to the drawing board and get an agreement and get all the insurance and liability stuff taken care of and bring back something January.
Very good. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask the board if there's anybody who has any questions who that they feel would help them come to a decision on whether they're generally in favor or generally against this at this time.
I have a question.
Yes, please. Ms. Schaefer.
So, not that I'm not in favor of you guys playing there, but we have talked about long-term maintenance and how much this field is going to cost us to keep, have it continue to look the way it does. We know that there's some stuff that needs to be done. So I think we should know that information. Like, how much is it? It's great if you guys are playing on it and fixing it, but if the whole wall needs to be replaced, or I don't know, I haven't looked at it in detail, but if there's a ton of maintenance that needs to be done soon, I think we should know that as well as as a part of our decision that we have to make. So, not that I don't want people playing on the field, but I think we should know long-term how much it's going to cost us to maintain.
And probably see what needs to be maintained.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes,
may,
please.
we do have some budgeted funds in our budget. I think in a couple years was kind of discussed that we should tear down the big wall and put in more of an open type fencing around that facility
Right.
to open it up and so people can see what's going on in there. And then we do have some other money programmed for remodeling the concession stand. So those items have been addressed. The biggest, I guess, question mark would be the bleachers and things like that. So
Sure. But that's all information you could kind of give us a general scope on if, you could help us, Mr. Sandy, with an assessment on what we're up against from the liability side, what we're up against on the on the building side, the ground side, and all of that, what our obligations would be just to get these guys in there. Is that correct?
Yep, definitely.
Awesome. Yes, please, Mr. Rushmeyer.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I also think Mills donates a certain amount of money each year to that field as well. That's earmarked for that field.
Correct.
And then the other part of it is probably to be looking at VFW, Legion schedules, and, there would have to be some correlation with that. I don't think you guys play in the spring, do you? Would you start after the end
No,
of
we
May?
usually start end of May, middle to end of May. But, in the past, we've scheduled our stuff around the youth, around the Legion and VFW. Those kids come first, and then we'll work around it. And all the teams in the state that we play, they're in the same boat, and they do the same thing. So that wouldn't be an issue. And it's worked really well in the past, pre-COVID. So.
Understood. All right, guys. So just to keep things moving here, I'm going to just kind of ask somebody to volunteer, or I'd like to hear from each one of you. Generally speaking, of course, we're going to get a chance to dive into the weeds on this, I'm sure, once we get some feedback back from Paul, and I'm sure from Katie as well on this. But generally speaking, are we in favor or not in favor of the Bees calling Mills Field home in the next year, 2022? That'd be exciting. Yeah.
Well, I'm sort of in favor of looking into it. I mean, I've lived through the Bears, the Bees, the Mighty Gulls, every other team that went bankrupt in this town. So it's just a matter of finding out which one's going to be next. And hopefully it works out well, because it should work. But people don't come to Brainerd to watch a baseball game. They come to Brainerd to go fishing, golfing, hunting, whatever. I hope it works fantastic. I would do as many things as I can to make it easier for you, because we all want things to work better. But I just want to don't overstep, take too big of a chunk off your apple, so to speak.
I wouldn't do that. I've been doing this for 30 years, so
Yeah.
I've been battling around all the. But
again,
I understand what you're saying,
I mean, I-
because we've been there with those teams that.
I was a big wig at GLS back when they, they, you know, they, 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 peed on us for $400 and some thousand, kind of thing, but so you get nervous with that kind of stuff at first, but
Sure. It won't
Otherwise,
get
I'm
to,
in
it won't
favor.
get to that point. Guaranteed.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely in favor of exploring this further. And,
Me as well. Yeah. One of the things we talk about all the time is people in our parks. So I'm even willing to extend beyond to make that happen. That's where I'm at.
Yep, I'm also in favor.
Absolutely. I think it'd be great to get people out for ball games in the summer.
Very good. All right, so I think what we're hearing is we do have a general consensus from the park board that we'd certainly like to entertain you guys being there, and I think the direction that we're giving staff is to flesh out all of the liabilities, responsibilities, the money side of this, the scheduling side of this, the staffing side of this, and so forth, and come back to us with a proposal as soon as you guys are ready. But sounds like generally speaking, you're through the first gate here, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
was
Good luck with everything, guys. Good luck.
Intended on being there? Unintended on
That's
that
good.
one?
That's good.
Nobody else even caught that. That's how slow we are.
Very good. Do you have what you need, Mr. Sandy?
Yep, I do. Yep.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to number 7. This is our, thank you, gentlemen. Don't feel obligated to stay, even though this is riveting stuff. We're moving on to item number 7. This is our unfinished business. We're going to have a discussion on the Lum Park Master Plan and the design standard deliverables. This also is Mr. Sandy, I believe, is going to kind of get us rolling on this.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're kind of at a point where city staff would like to bring both of these documents back for final approval. We're just kind of verifying. I know we had some initial discussions about deliverables for both of these. I think we kind of understand what the design standards final format will be, and it'll be similar to that book that you guys received a hard copy of back when we were in Lum Park. As far as the master plan, I think that's where we want some guidance here. We spoke briefly with Seth about what a deliverable looks like, what they've kind of done in the past. And really, I think it comes down to the large overhead scale view that we've been working on for a while, and then something like an executive summary that explains each of the improvements within the park and outlines kind of the process we went through to get to the point we are. So I want to just generate some discussion between you all as if that's what you were expecting from this process. I think we're trying to get this wrapped up before the end of the year and just make sure there's a deliverable that we have that's useful into the future and that we can go to for idea generation, for getting cost estimates prepared for certain improvements within the park. So I guess I'll leave it at that. And Mr. Chair, if you want to open it up for discussion on this.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Sandy. So I will do so. I will open this up for discussion. Effectively, what Ms. Sandy and our outside sources are looking for is just some feedback from us on what they're hoping to have for a final document. We had some money in play. They're only going to go so far, right? So I think we're, maybe Jennifer or Paul can chime in on about where we are sitting money-wise, what we can extract out from them that way. But I'm going to open it up for discussion to you guys to just kind of talk about where we're at and what we'd like to see going forward. If we're there, not there, how much more we'd like to see.
I think from a budget standpoint, Mr. Chair, we're probably kind of at the end of the road here. We've gone through a lot of iterations of this, and looking at what Seth has put in for time, I'm just kind of taking a stab that they're probably at the end of what we would consider our budget. So
On both of those, is that right, Mr. Sandy? Both the design
Yeah,
standards and the
it was
master plan?
It was a fairly reasonable price that they had on both of those, and
Yes.
just being good stewards of their time and getting to a point where we're comfortable using a document into the future. I think just giving them some good direction on what we would like to see as a final product.
All right, thank you. Any comments, questions, guys? Yeah, please, Mr. Rushmeyer.
Surprised. I think we just have to we have to review that document and make some decisions on some of the stuff. I think basically, I think we just need to go through it and say yes, yes, no. Some of that is, the one page has several different signs, options on it. I think we just need to pick, and I don't think it's gonna be much.
I agree.
And so, Paul, is it January that we're scheduled to meet with them again, or next month?
December, I thought.
December?
I think it's
We were
December.
hoping to come back with a final product in December.
Yeah.
But. December 14th.
So do we need to have like a special meeting where we get together for an hour and half an hour and
We certainly could.
through that document, those documents?
Yeah, if you're thinking we'd have like 2 weeks to review, we do a special meeting in 2 weeks and then give them a little bit of direction for a little polish up in the following 2 weeks in preference to the December meeting, we certainly could do that.
I think that would be feasible.
Mr. Chair, just a reminder, our December meeting is actually on the 14th. That does
Yes,
not
correct.
coincide with kind of the holiday there. So, I mean, if that's the route we want to go, we can certainly push it off till January 2 and just talk about it a little more at the December 14th meeting.
Well, with the holidays and everything else, that might be better just to give us some, an extra month. I mean, there's really nothing pressing on this, really, you guys, so.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, please, Ms. Scheib.
Kind of, as we start to own this document, could we just make some of those choices that Troy was talking about? And that, sure, we have 3 sign options, but we can delete 2 from the PowerPoint as well as Widsith can?
Yeah, I mean, it's my understanding, both of these documents are living documents. I mean, to both our design standards as well as our master plan, I look at it as, this is kind of the work that we've got done, but it's open to change moving forward. It's open to, adaptations and so forth as we continue to use these documents as working, as working tools. So, absolutely, but I think we're generally on the right path here. If we spend the next month, and it'll give us all the homework of looking at those, both the design standards as well as the master plan, and then have some very valuable feedback coming up on December 14th for the staff. Then we could give them the direction in a month to kind of polish up anything in between. Mrs. Bergman, please.
Just on the the Lum Park master plan, I just kind of merged all those words together. So, as you remember, this was initially done to incorporate a children's museum. The Children's Museum is no longer a part of the Lum Park master plan. And so Widseth did agree that no matter what, whether the Children's Museum was going to be a part of it or not, that there would be a completed master plan. I think you nailed it. I mean, I think that what you had was a recommendation by Widseth after listening to comments that really came out of that Children's Museum Working Group too, and also those comments of the park board, and said, here are some things that you can do, and this could be a great master plan for that park. But it is a living document, and I think, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, you're really looking for, are we okay with the last kind of presented version of what we received from Widseth? And I guess my thought on that is, maybe that's what you want to see, that most recent version, and then you could, give your thumbs up, thumbs down, make changes, whatever. My thing is, I just want to kind of close the loop with the city council, since they did appropriate the funds. I just want the council to know that it actually did result in something, even though the Children's Museum is no longer there.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, please, Ms. Troy.
So the master plan itself, my thought is we could leave that where it's at, because when we delve into that, it's gonna be similar to the Memorial Park project and different things we've done, and so things will change as we go. But there's a master plan. I mean, we have groundwork broken, and to give us headway into that, right?
Absolutely, and keep in
I
mind,
think we need to make
any final tweaks.
any changes with that, what they have so far, because once we start working on the Lum Park master plan, it'll be just exactly what we've done in the past with the riverfront, the Memorial Park project, and just kind of moving forward with what we have. The design standard, to me, that's easy, and in reality, we can leave the amount of signs that are in there and say, well, we have these to choose from if we wanted.
I agree.
And
Absolutely agree. Keep in mind that we have money in for a master plan work to begin next year also, in which I'm sure we'll be coming back and visiting all of this. So, and all of that will be tied together. So,
And along with that, the design standard, I think what we need is to make sure that you guys, Paul, and your staff have a working document that you can work from to order supplies and purchase what you need to maintain and repair and or build stuff, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Yep.
I think we could hash through that pretty quickly.
perfect. So, are we saying we are good with it, or do we want the next month to look at it? We're good with it.
I think we're designing.
Do we have consensus? We're good with this.
Yeah.
Very good. Do you need a motion on
Mr.
this? Yes, please.
Would you like a small executive summary, or is that really not needed? I mean, it's up to you guys. I think it was, 2 to 3 pages, just outlining the improvements, and kind of the process the park board got to this point. More or less.
It certainly wouldn't hurt. I've been using both of these documents. We've been using them back and forth with what we're doing with Mississippi. So I know the documents fairly well. I'm okay with them, but I don't think a summary would hurt for sure. So, but we do have consensus here. It sounds like Mr. Sandy that we're okay with where we are on both of these documents, and we can go ahead and button this up. Correct?
Okay, so we'll
guys?
bring something back on the 14th.
Yes.
I don't think I need a motion on that.
Very good. No motion needed. We good to move on? Anyone? Sorry, Mr. Bedell.
No, I was just simply going to say to Jennifer, do you believe that the council would like an update on that, or can we wait until that process is done?
I think the council would like an update on it, and Paul and I have talked about this, that as soon as the park board has, officially approved or accepted that master plan, that then it would go to the city council.
Okay, we can just give them a verbal update until that's done.
Awesome, thank you very much. All right, I'm going to continue on to item number 7B. This is the update on the Memorial Park construction. Mr. Sandy, please.
Right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if Chris is there tonight. I know he was on a trip.
He is not.
Just quickly, pay voucher 7 is in the packet. Chris included his memo in there also about where the project is kind of at. Any questions on that, I guess, from your packet materials?
Anyone?
I do.
Troy.
Paul, there was some options. It looked like Chris had put some options in there for the pickleball nets.
Yep.
What I didn't see is an option for putting anchors in. And, I know we talked about
I
that.
thought yep. I
And,
thought the guidance or direction was that we didn't necessarily want to do that because this is going to be iced each year, and cutting into that concrete may not be the best idea, just for the fact that for most of the year this is going to be ice covered. So we were looking at more of a portable type system. Is that not the direction?
I don't think that was the direction. I'm going to speak. I think what we said specifically that we wanted for Chris to at least look into what it would take for some removable permanent mounts that could be screwed in or screwed out, so that the pickleball nets could be anchored and then fastened in place for the entire summer.
and also the option of then that would be less equipment perhaps that would need to be stored, and maybe more easily stored, if we're looking at nets and 2 poles but we were just kind of hoping to have, to look at that option along with these
Okay.
portable nets.
If it comes
Yeah,
back
so
that
once
it's
we
just
have
not
some time,
possible, that's
we'll
great.
get-
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, we'll come back, I think maybe we misheard that, and so I'll get with Chris and see what he feels the options are for that, and then we will bring it back here sometime either in December or after the first of the year here. So.
On the freestanding side, though, these are definitely an improvement over the first versions, for sure.
And cheaper.
Yeah. Anything else, guys? Yeah, Mr. Wright, please.
Just one thing that came to mind as I looked at some of these is we did spring for the concrete ceiling, and I feel like drilling into the concrete after we did the ceiling might negate the money we spent on the ceiling in the first place.
I would like to have an expert tell us that, because we're talking, no, I'm not saying you're not. I'm just, we're talking holes.
Yeah, that's what I see.
And, so, I would like to know that for sure, because, a lot of money was spent on this project, and if putting anchors in is the best way to do this, I would like to see what that is, and so.
Awesome. So it sounds like we're just still not quite there on the right information, Mr. Sandy, I'm afraid. So can we keep digging into this just a little bit? Also, we might address the ceiling aspect that Mr. Shipe brought up.
Yeah, and there might be actually ways to secure these portable systems down too. So we'll look into that also.
Fantastic. Thank you. Was there anything else? Let's go back to. Was there anything else that you wanted us to look at here?
No, it's just
Okay.
if Chris isn't there, there's really not much to report on the construction. It's
Yeah, we're like a
basically-
98% or something like that. I saw. Correct.
Yep, and that should be almost it. So we are gonna looks like we're gonna be a little bit under as we were anticipating. So.
Okay. Very good. And that gets divided up among the park board, so that's good news. Anyways, continuing on, very good. Thank you, Mr. Sandy. We're going to move on to item 7, or excuse me, yes, item 8, actually. This will be the 8A, our new business. This is a discussion of the Gregory Park Christmas tree. Is this, yeah, thank you. Is this Mr. Sandy as well?
Thanks for staying, guys.
Yeah, Mr. Sandy, please.
Yeah, so this was brought forward, Mr. Shipe is on the Brainerd Northside Association board, and I think Mayor Bedeau has also been working on this a little bit. The Northside Association did donate $500 towards a Christmas tree in Gregory Park. And so I wanted to bring this forward and see what your guys' thoughts are on this. I think the location would be in or around the fountain area, and I guess we're kind of just looking for some direction on what that could look like. I think we're like I was talking with the mayor that we're a little bit late this season to do anything, but we would like to at least know the direction we're going. If community action is going to look at raising funds for this, to know what direction we're going, what the cost is, and if there's any interest from the park board on a match of some sort or anything like that. So that's kind of where this has got left. I did put some options that the mayor did send me. There's some that are just like a tree of lights, and there's others that are actually that look like a actual real tree that are more. I don't remember what it was called, but it's it looks like a real tree, so it does have a daytime. It's called a pop-up tree. It does have some daytime value then too. So, just I guess a discussion on this, and I guess what the park board would like to see with that donation from the Northsiders. Maybe Dave has some information from what Community Action's doing, and then anything the park board, if anything, they'd want to donate to this cause.
All right, very good. Thank you. So at this time, I want to turn it back to us. Anyone who would like to speak? Mr. Bedeau?
Sure,
Yes?
I can jump in because I'm the one
Awesome.
that brought this up to begin with. And we talked at the last meeting about whether or not this could potentially be done this year. I made a lot of phone calls. Most of the places that do this are down in North Carolina for some reason. Because when I think Christmas trees, I think North Carolina. But there were options that were available. Timeframes were really, really tight. And so in terms of funding for it, if Community Action or if another organization was looking to take it on and go look for sponsorships, I want to make sure that we can actually get the product. And so the case of the one that shows up here, the pop-up tree, which is the one that I ultimately leaned on to myself, it would have been a potential of maybe, maybe not. So instead of heading down that road, take a step back, take a look at it, see if it's something that we want to do. This is the one that I would probably recommend. Essentially what it is it's a hoop type frame, and then the tree itself is essentially like a slinky. So you put it up at the top and then you raise the pole, and as you raise the pole, it just kind of drapes itself down. That one there has the ability to have ornaments on it. You can pick the color of the ornaments, you can pick the color of the lights that go on it. So there is value to it during the day as well, as opposed to the other option that was shown there, which was the first one we looked at. It was just a string of lights and it was $5,000. So it was a large jump up from that initial one. But if you really want to get crazy, you can purchase things from China that are amazing. You know, just all sorts of different designs. But, you know, again, time frame wise, whether or not we could do something like that, we're definitely not going to be able to get something up this year. And then it's just a matter of whether or not it's something you guys are actually interested in before we go and try to find funding for it. I don't think that'll be a problem. I think we can get it done pretty easily. But again, we just got to make sure that we have a concept that you guys are comfortable with. I know there was discussion initially of what does that look like during the day? And I think that's a great question, you know? What does it look like when it's during the day? And that's why I kind of lean towards this one here.
All right, great. Thank you, Mr. Bedell.
And shame on you for putting the Slinky song in my head now.
Andrew, did you have anything to add from your side? I know that the Northsiders have donated this. That's awesome. We'd like to call a shout out to those guys. Thank you for that. Do you have any insight on kind of what they're looking for, Andrew? Have you spoken with anyone?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
So definitely, I think something that lights up to kind of make it a little more appealing at night. And then also a central Christmas decoration to have some kind of Christmas carol event around. I think they're looking to organize that with just the residents and some of the 4 or 5 churches within 2 blocks. So kind of a dual purpose kind of center for a Christmas event and just to bring lights and cheer.
All right, awesome. All right, so this is kind of similar to the other item in that we're just looking for a general consensus on whether we're in favor, not necessarily getting into the weeds of what color lights or decorations or that, but general consensus right now before we start raising money and start asking the public to help out in that. Ms. Bergman, please.
So just one other comment. So just so you know, the Downtown Business Coalition is also looking at purchasing new downtown decorations, right? The swags are nearing the end of their useful life. I don't know, you know, this is obviously in different parts of town, but I don't know if there's any, it might not be bad to have the Northsiders and the Downtown Business Coalition talk too, if there's some synergy in that as well. Just a thought.
Oh, thank you. All right, guys, generally?
Move forward, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely move forward. It just seems it's an awful big expense, but I mean, even though we'd rather have something that would be night and day, to me, I can't see why we can't just put up a string of lights that look like a tree this year, about the same height as the fountain. So at least we have lights at night.
Yeah, what it came down to was just, can it get done, you know? And in the looking into it, potentially, you know, we could potentially do it. But if we are going to do it, I want to make sure that we're doing it right. I want to make sure that it isn't something that is going to be a hazard in terms of tipping over. I think that was one of my major concerns with it. And then just looking at it from a cost perspective is we can go get the money. I don't believe that's a problem at all. We can find sponsors to put this type of piece in our park. I think there's enough support for that. But what are we pitching them becomes the next thing. And is it something that can continue to be used? So my time spent on it, got excited, got real excited, and then got less excited because it just became a thing where it's like, yeah, we could order this, but what a risk to take that it shows up, you know, in time, and at that point, you know, you've already taken people's money. So,
well, my leaning would be a nicer piece that could be used over and over and have a longer lifespan. Yeah, please, Kara.
So I think it would be awesome. I think it would be great if we didn't have to fund it though, like the park board didn't. And I also want to think about the other parks. So Gregory Park is beautiful, but they already have really cool things there. And there's already a skating rink, there's already a fountain. What about the new park we just built? Why can't we get a tree over there? What about Buffalo Hill? Like other parks, would a lit tree bring people to the park in the winter? I don't know. But, you know, like let's think of all of our parks. So I think it would be beautiful. I just don't want to spend the money out of our budget. So yeah, if you want to do some fundraising, that's just my opinion.
yeah, I will absolutely take it on. And again, if we get out to the community and we find that I'm completely off base, that it just isn't available, that type of funding for this, you know, it isn't something that we need to be set in stone. That's another part of it too, is we don't want to go just purchase something to purchase something. I want to make sure that it's something that people are actually interested in. And the concept that you're speaking of, Andrew, is exactly what we had in mind, or at least what was brought forward to us, was a caroling event, hot chocolate, that type of thing. And yes, we have the stuff downtown. Yes, we have the tree lighting ceremony down there. But for whatever reason, people just kind of gravitated towards that idea of having in the fountain, so that a piece that we've already got, a structure, is then transformed into something that's year-round.
Awesome.
That 21-foot pop-up tree is cool,
I think so too.
but it, you know, $7,000, holy cow.
If you guys are approving of that concept, that's what I'm gravitating towards, and I think that would be the easiest for us to store. It would be the easiest for us to continue to put back up, and then from a standpoint of securing it, we create the base that goes over the fountain. We already have that box that sits there, and I believe, and I don't think it says on here, but it dimensions very close to what that box is. We would maybe have to make a little bit of a extension to it. And then we would just need to find a way to make sure that we're securing it, as you see in the picture there, and you can't really see it.
Couple guy wires. Yeah, there's some
Couple
guy
guide
wires.
So we would just need to make sure that we're looking into those things before we commit to it. And again, if we did this, it would be a process that we would probably start maybe having some conversations with people this year, but really talking about, okay, this is what we want to do for next year, and start the funding process probably after the new year.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, please, Jennifer.
So, Mr. Chair, one more thing. First of all, this is great, right? This is another event to bring to your parks. We're going to have a tree lighting ceremony out here. Great. Now we also have a tree lighting ceremony in Gregory Park as well. I mean, fantastic. One thing that I know that our staff struggle with is putting lights on the tree that is currently out on the corner here on 6th and Laurel. So, Paul, I'm kind of shouting out at you a little bit on this pop-up tree. I know we're trying to figure out other alternatives also for a Christmas tree in 2022. So, I don't know, just throwing that out there that maybe it's a 2-for-1.
Yeah, Troy, please.
You know, we went with a little bit different. Oh, I'm sorry. Was Troy going?
No, go ahead, Paul.
Oh, okay. Just on Jennifer's comments about the trying to hang lights on that tree in City Hall here. We did go a little different route this year. We actually rented 2 aerial lifts that are easier to maneuver and smaller to help us do that. It was around $600, but we found it to be much easier, quicker, safer to do it with our park staff. And then we don't have to waste BPU's time doing that. Their bucket trucks are just so large and they're hard to maneuver. It did work a lot better. However, that tree grows 2 to 3 feet each year, and every year it grows 2 or 3 feet more. We have a harder and harder time getting lights up at the top. So it is something that's in the back of my mind, and something that's been in the back of Troy's mind for a very long time about what are we going to do when we can no longer hang lights that high in the City Hall tree. But we know we made it through this year, and hopefully we can in the future, but something to keep in the back of our minds.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
Well, first of all, on that thought, just purchase a city helicopter, and I think you have it covered, but.
They take checks.
But for instance, with this tree, if it's a telescoping tree, you can hang lights as you bring it up.
I think they're pre-lit, right?
Yeah, this pop-up tree, and they do go larger than 21 feet. 21 feet just had the right base size, and then cost-wise seemed to be appropriate once the ornaments are on. But yeah, these are pre-lit. You can pick the color of the lights that you put on it, and so, you could get a larger one of these as well. I'm not opposed to putting one of these on top of City Hall either, so.
Awesome.
And then one final thought is, I would actually vote for the reindeer that's sitting with his legs crossed.
All right, duly noted. Very good, guys. Thank you. So I think we got a general consensus. We're in favor. Let's make it happen. All right, moving on to item 8B. This is the discussion of master architect contract for capital park improvements. Mr. Sandy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this was something that staff's been kind of kicking around and considering. We spent a lot of time on this park's 30-year capital plan, and there's a lot of large improvements in there. For example, the first ones that are coming down the slate are the improvements in Kiwanis Park, which includes the gazebo, the pavilion, and the restroom building. So a little over $100,000 worth of improvements to those buildings. We were looking at this, and when we do parks capital improvements, we typically have an architect that will identify the needs of the building. When Kevin and I made this capital plan, it was kind of a gut shot to how much money would we need to spend to get the exterior buttoned up and get the inside remodeled. There's a lot that goes into that, from a planning, material selection, simple drawings that the contractor may need to make this happen. And we don't have the staff, the technical staff, architecturally to do a lot of these improvements. And so, or to get them out to bid or quote. And so what we're kind of proposing is not a project by project type of contract with an architect. We're proposing that we do something like an hourly basis where if staff needs to bounce something off of a professional architect, licensed architect, that we would have that ability, or if we need them to create, for example, a small set of plan documents for a contractor for remodeling of the restrooms in Kiwanis Park, that's something that they could take on and do for us. And then we would receive those documents, go through a bidding or a quoting process, and get those improvements, built out. It would also be something that we have in our pocket if questions arise during construction that staff does not know, and we need an architect's either eye for something or an architect's professional judgment on something, that we can bounce ideas off of them. We have this design standard document, and it gives a lot of great guidance as far as colors and materials and things like that. However, architects do things a lot differently than engineers do. And while we'd like to believe that we'd be able to handle something like this in-house, I just don't think the technical expertise of engineers quite matches what an architect can provide these projects. So what we're really looking at is Travis Miller has been doing a lot of work for us. He's, I think, and Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, he's kind of a sole proprietor kind of person that basically has himself and a couple of staff members. It's not a large firm. They've helped us with the Gregory Park and Memorial Park warming houses. He's used to what we're doing right now and what the park board has been designing and constructing. And so that's, I guess, what we'd like to do is get some sort of hourly based contract that becomes part of the project costs with an architect, and just, if we can spend, $2,000 to $2,500 on the upfront documents on these projects, I think they're just going to go so much smoother in the long term. So that's what we're proposing. I guess open it up for some discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Sandy. And just to be clear, just the billing aspect or the compensation aspect, these would be billed to the projects themselves. They wouldn't necessarily just come out of our yearly budget. Is that correct, Mr. Sandy?
Correct, yeah. So, for example, we have $75,000 programmed for remodel of the restrooms. If we spend $2,000 on an architect to help us through getting a bid document set done, that would just come out, and we would have $73,000 to spend on that.
This is really a discussion on just helping you move faster, right? I mean, it's just get through the process of getting documents faster, to get them out to bid, and just being able to do daily business more efficiently and quicker. So I'll turn that over to discussion to you guys.
Mr. Architect, what
Yes.
are your thoughts?
This is a no-brainer in my opinion. They're all going to be charging very similar rates. I don't see that there's a lot of juice that could be squeezed out of a competitive environment, especially when you factor in the time that it would take to put out an RFP for two or three or four different architects to draw $2,000 worth of plans.
It's a good idea.
Absolutely. I just think it's another tool that the city would have to be able to just move more efficiently, more fluidly. Yes, please, Troy.
It sounds like a great idea. The only question I have is, are we going to have people crying foul that we are using one individual and not getting quotes? You know what I'm saying? You know, are there others out there that are gonna say, hey, how come?
I was going to chime in on this, and I think that there's an argument that should be said that this works up to a certain budget or up to a certain fee range for architecture, and then it feels like you should put it in the competitive environment. But I see this somewhat similar to, you know, we have a city attorney. He's our go-to person there that we use. So it would be some fashion of a contracted person to be the professional liaison. But 100% valid question, Troy.
And I'm not against it. I mean, I've worked with Travis, and I think, you know, he definitely knows our design standards, and so, I mean, if it saves time and money and it just helps things flow smoother, I think it's a great idea. That was my only question is, are we gonna get in trouble?
And Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah, please.
So, in the contracting world, this is considered a professional service. The city has direct selected many engineering and architecture consultants in the past. In fact, our most recent ones were for the remodeling of City Hall and the fire department and police department. We did not solicit an RFP for that. We simply direct selected with Seth in that for those plans and the construction management. And so it is a professional service. I do understand, yeah, I like competitive environment. It does keep things in check. But I think for the scope of work of what we're going to be asking someone to do, I agree with Mr. Yeager, hit it on the head. I think it's going to be a small enough work task that a larger firm probably isn't even going to want to look at from that aspect.
Mr. Bedell, please.
My only question on this is that it's only listed as hourly rate. Is there, if there is a contract that's entered into, is there going to be some kind of expectation of a workflow that will be used as a minimum?
Mr. Sandy?
I don't believe so. We didn't want to necessarily tie this to a project. I think we'd want to tie it to like an annual contract so that we have, you know, if we're working on 3 buildings that year, you know, city staff scopes the project out with the architect and we make a decision on what level of service. You know, if it's a $20,000 improvement, most of that we're going to be able to do ourselves. You know, if it's facade improvements, a roofing project, we can go get quotes ourselves on that. If it's a little more like a large remodel of a building, that's when it becomes a little more of a task of scoping. Architects know how the contracting world works in buildings. And so it's going to be a project by project basis, but it's really going to depend on how much money we're spending to really decide what the scope is of an hourly. And that's why we kind of left it open. I think during the scoping phase of these projects, that's when city staff and the architect will kind of decide, okay, is this 8 hours of work? Is this 10 hours of work? What is it and what does it look like? That'll be a year by year thing as projects change. But I mean, we're certainly open to, if we want to just make it project specific each year, we can do it that way too.
Guys?
Makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, exactly right. But the only complaint I would have is, can we use a bigger font next time, please? So I can.
All right, guys, no motion needed here. It looks like you've got the general feedback that you're looking for here, right, Mrs. Sandy? I think we're all in consensus that putting an architect together for these types of projects makes sense. I think what you're also hearing is that in larger standalone projects, which we may want to discuss a little further, we may want to entertain an RFP for if something comes up that is a substantial architecture fee. Is that a fair summary? Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, in looking at the Kiwanis, I mean, if we're talking 100,000, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Should be
substantial.
competitively bid.
And not only that, we need to really look at that and say, do we want to bring in something similar to what we're talking about doing at the Mississippi Trailhead? Instead of renovating a building that will need to be
bathrooms.
renovated
Yeah,
again.
exactly, yes.
We bring in a concrete deal, but that's different.
Does that make sense, Ms. Sandy?
Yeah, competitive bidding threshold is 175,000. So
Okay.
most of these projects, we're gonna be able to quote contractors we want to come in and do the work. You know, grab 3 or 4 quotes competitively and go from there. So they're not gonna be documents where we actually have to have specifications and everything included.
All right, very good.
Do we need a motion on this? I mean, is
Do you
this
need a
different
motion?
than what we've done in the past? Do we
We'll bring
need
a contract back, I think,
Okay,
for formal action.
very good. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our newly added agenda item. This is item 8C. This is the Big Sev sled rack. Mr. Bedell, please.
Sled garage, if you.
Sled garage, sorry.
We moved on from the term sled shed to sled garage. So in front of you, what you're seeing here is a sled garage, as we're calling it. May have heard sled shed, but this has been created. Council member Mike O'Day has created this. It was brought up in a discussion between a couple council members, and the idea behind it is you create a space that sleds are put into, free of use, and people can use the sleds, and then they can put the sled back when they are done. Absolutely, I know what comments you're gonna make there. 100%, this will end up going down the hill. This will end up vandalized. The sleds will end up gone. But it's such a small cost to have it created, and it's such a small thing that I think is worth doing. It's been created, and the question at hand is if you guys are willing to allow us to place, or allow anyone, Mike, I guess, to place this into Big Sev. So a sign has been created in terms of a design. I don't know if you have that as well. Oh, you do not?
I don't think it was in the packet.
Paul, you have dragged your feet on this. Paul, you have that photo. Let's go. Let's
You told me
go.
just to send a picture of this.
Yeah, let's go. Send that over. Anyways, the idea behind this is you've got a park that is not branded very well. It's called Hitchwain. A lot of people know it as Big Sev. A lot of people love to refer to it as Big Sev. However, the park's name is Hitchwain. A lot of people don't know that it exists. The idea behind this is let's pop something in there that lets people know that there's sledding happening at this location. The branding of it is Big Sev at Hitchwain Park. And then the goal of this would be to go get some funding to purchase the sleds that would be placed in, purchase additional sleds that could be placed in after those disappear, because we understand that they will probably disappear, and just see how it goes. You know, just a small item in a park that may or may not work, but the structure itself has been created, and there's already people that have lined up that are interested in funding the sled, so.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Bedell. All right, guys, what do we think?
Can we make an unusually large tattoo on each sled, you know, that's where at Big Sev or whatever it might be, so if anyone brings that sled to the high school, everyone's gonna, they rip it off from Big Sev?
It would be kind of fun to get something. There you go. There's your sign.
It is, exactly right. Now
So
that-
Big Sev at Hitchwain Park. We put Brainerd, Minnesota on there so that it becomes something people can take photos with as well. It says take a sled and use it at your own risk. Please return to the shed. We're going to change that to garage when done. It can say whatever you want, but then underneath we would place 3 logos. One being the park department logo, Park and Rec. One being the sign company, and then the third being the funding source.
All right, further comments?
Can we,
Mr. Chair. if I
Please, Kara.
can we secure that? Is there plans to try to secure it, or at least, I mean, 'cause that's wood?
I'd like to see it secured also.
Yeah, the goal would be to try and stake it down into the ground in some manner. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. That park is secluded enough that it's going to end up down the hill. That's just going to happen. It's probably going to end up wrecked. That's probably going to happen. But I'm a firm believer that you don't just not do things because people vandalize them. Give it a shot and see what happens. But I do think we should try and stake it into the ground.
Screw in anchors
Yep.
would work, for sure, I think.
Yep. And then with snow, some kid's going to come up and drop kick it. I know that's going to happen.
Electric fence.
But it's a feel good thing. It's a nice little social media option for us that one allows the double branding of it, Big Sev at Hitchwain.
Yep, awesome. What else, guys?
I like it. Now, my only question is, if the sleds are provided, does that make the city liable for an injury because we provided sleds?
I don't believe so, but we can double check on that, but I don't believe so.
City provides equipment. I mean, we should look. We really should look. The city does provide other equipment. We provide batting helmets and
Skates.
gear, and
Yep.
we provide
I
stuff.
just,
A dock.
somebody can say, well, that sled pulled to the left and that's why my kid
Right,
hit the
exactly.
tree.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And my kid broke his arm on your sled.
I think it's,
Who do I contact about settlement?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for everyone who's worked on this. My 2 points are, I would like to see it anchored. Really like to see it painted in our green personally, as opposed to just the wood. But other than that, this is awesome. I love it. And yeah, let's give it a try. That's what I think.
Okay, so my question to you, the goal right now is just to take that back plate off and have that lasered with the sign.
Okay.
You guys have your paint. Would you be willing to have it painted on your end? Or would you like us to go have that painted on ours?
I'd like you guys to paint it.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay, that's completely fine. We can take care of this. We've got people lined up that want to fund it, so.
How big is that?
I was gonna say, is it 24 wide by 4 feet long?
No, it is,
Inches, he means.
it's 2 feet wide by, I believe, 3 feet deep.
Like 10, 12 slides in there?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
Awesome.
yeah. I mean, the funding available will purchase a lot of sleds.
Who's the funder?
We have not officially agreed,
Next
but
year
there
we'll
have
put a tow
been.
rope in.
There's a bidding process in place for this.
Who'll give me
one.
5?
These are the ones that are fun because people like to get behind this stuff, so I don't think we'll run into an issue.
Would it take away our liability if people donated sleds to the park? Because it's not our property.
We'll definitely have to ask the lawyer just to make sure, because we are technically putting the garage there, and so whatever that means, I guess we'll have to double check on it. There are other cities that have done this. Duluth is one of them that has utilized these. I think that's where this idea came from, so
And that's the garage?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
that's the garage.
Like a chair to me. Okay.
Yeah, please, Paul.
As far as liability is concerned, yeah, you're exactly right. Those, we're covered to a certain point for injuries that occur on city property. So it's the same, it's no different than ice skating rinks with ice skates or batting helmets or kids playing baseball, city-sponsored events. We are covered with tort liability and things in those circumstances. So the city has every right to provide those types of things for people to use. The sledding hill, we're gonna start working on that next week. And so we'll start seeing some action down there. So.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, guys. Troy, sorry, Dave.
Paul, can I work with you on getting that paint situation figured out?
Definitely, anytime, Dave.
Perfect, thank you.
Guys good? All right, we're good. Moving on to item 8. What is the new item 8D? This is to approve the campground rates for 2022. Is this Kim or no? This is Paul.
I can let Kim take this. She put this information together. It's an annual thing that we typically do. Kim, can you just turn your microphone on so I can hear you?
It's on.
Okay, perfect. We'll take it away.
I don't know what you want me to say. I've presented some current 2021 rates from area campgrounds. And also, last time the rates were increased,
Last year,
I think it
right?
was 4 years ago.
That long?
Sorry, I was not prepared. I did not know I was
years.
presenting, so I have to flip
It was brought
through
up
my-
last year, but we never raised it.
Oh, we never raised it?
Yeah, it was 4 years ago, correct?
4 years ago, okay. And, just for the board's information, I know that we are probably the only campground in the area that we don't charge extra for extra people or extra kids or extra pets, or the only surcharge we have for our campers is purchasing firewood. That being said, I know the future direction is probably not having a campground host. The more fees you tack on, you're gonna need somebody there to enforce them and collect them and make sure they're paying. for everything, so, I like the simple fee structure. It's just a matter if you want to increase it or not. And the only other thing I was gonna suggest, I get a lot of inquiries for military or veteran discounts, and I was just wondering if that's something the board would want to consider in conjunction with our senior rate. We offer a $5 a night discount for anyone 55 or over, and maybe if they're not 55, but they're military, could just offer that to them as well.
As a senior member, sadly enough, for the next camping season, why in the hell do they get $5 off? I'm dead serious. I mean, they know how much, they drive a $450,000 RV into the park and they get $5 off because they're 64 years old.
Most of ours aren't 450,000, but
But the rates at a hotel are $88 a night for the room. Doesn't matter if you're 15 years old or 55 years old. The same rate should be the same for everything.
park board made that decision many park boards ago.
I may have been there for that. I don't remember, but I wasn't a member of the senior class then.
I think let's
It can
make
be
it,
changed, it's up to you guys.
I think let's make it easy and let's jack it up to $55 a night. And if it's a $5, I mean, especially if we're looking at increasing what we offer there at Lum Park. And, I mean, there's a beach there even now. I mean, there's a lake there, there's a beach there, there's a place for them to play volleyball, there's plenty of, places for them to picnic and eat. And, I mean, there's a lot of amenities that go with this campground. And, for us to be the lowest, the lowest price, we at least need to be
Comparable.
As long as you're looking at apples and apples, because, I highlighted on that document the ones that are just water and electric sites. Many of them offer sewer hookups, which we do not have.
I thought we had a.
We have a cleanup, but
We have a dump station.
we have a dump.
Station.
So they have to unhook to be able to do that.
Is Gold Dam on there? That's the one that I feel like is the closest match. Gold Dam.
Oh, not really, they only have electric
Crowing.
there. I
They have a
think.
dump also, right?
They're on there,
Are they?
but they only have electric. I don't think they even have water at
Okay.
Gold Dam.
Yeah, no showers and all that either. So, yeah, you're right.
It's the very top one on the right side. Gold Lake Recreation.
Yep, there it is.
I just think it's good
Okay.
for the park board to look at all of our fees on an annual basis so that they can be increased in smaller increments more often rather than
Yeah.
every 10 years, oh, bam, let's raise it $15 a night. You know what I mean?
And again, I agree with the senior discount, but 55 is not a senior. I mean, if they don't get Social Security for another 12 years. So let's change it to 6. You want to be a senior, you're 67 years old, then you get a discount. I mean, realistically, do I look like a senior? I mean, don't answer that. I mean, realistically, it's ridiculous that 55 years old is getting a break. I don't deserve a break, and I'd probably take one, but I don't deserve one.
That's for the park board to decide. We implemented that senior rate, let's see, when was that started? Well, before 2012.
And somebody just has to tell you they're a senior? That's how they get the senior
We
rate?
just ask,
Yeah.
when they make a reservation, is there anyone 55 or over on your campsite?
It leads to people cheating too.
I would make a motion to move the fee to $50 Sunday through Thursday and 55 on Friday and Saturday. We're talking $10 more a night.
All right, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Would you also be adjusting, sorry.
You can ask a question.
Would you also raise the senior rates by 10, Troy, or?
Yeah, so, I get what Tim is saying, and I agree, even though I'm 1 year from getting there.
Young
Just like when I
kid.
turned 19, I was 11 days from being able to go to the bar. Now Tim wants to take that away from me.
I
but-
made mine.
I will, I would say to stick with the $5 off for seniors. But if we raise our prices, then we're still doing okay.
All right. We have a motion. I'm just going to summarize it. We're raising it to 50 during the week, 55 on weekends with a $5 discount for seniors, correct?
And I would add to that military, I would like definitely military personnel.
$5 for military or seniors? Oh, sorry, I don't want it.
Yes, both, but how, how do we prove that? Are we just going by their honor,
Yes.
So I'm
We
gonna
would just
start
ask.
swinging down there and asking for IDs.
We would either ask them or let them ask us if we offer it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in some respects, it's a $5 increase.
I'm willing to change that if somebody has an issue with that fee schedule. I'm just throwing something out there. I think we need to ramp it up. I think that's a beautiful park and we should get fair compensation for it.
Well, I'm down there 4 or 5 days a week, and there's very few people that are less than 55 years old. I mean, there are a number, but for the majority of them, they are getting their $5 discount, and I say that's enough of that. If they want to camp, like I say, they're all driving large Class A motorhomes with the indoor plumbing, air conditioning, washer, dryer, but we're giving them $5 extra because they're 55 years old. Borderline ridiculous. 65, I could maybe understand. 55 is way too young.
All right.
Are you the only one that has that senior discount?
That started when Lloyd and Donna were our campground hosts. Lloyd just thought that, when we went from $15 a night to 30, he said, we've got to offer the seniors a discount. That's how that came about.
All right.
Okay, so we still have a motion hanging out there in the
I
world.
want to amend it.
All right,
Tim has convinced me.
all right, here we go. We have a new amended motion. So we're gonna, hang on one sec. As a point of order, I'm gonna say that the first motion did not get seconded and is hereby negated. So we're gonna start over with a second motion, or with a new motion.
All right.
There we go.
A motion to increase our fee schedule by $10 a night. And the seniors discount will happen at 65 years old.
And that's still $5?
Yes. And veterans.
And it'll be one or the other for veterans, right? It's either if,
You don't get a stack.
get a-
No double dipping old man, or old gal.
Right.
Yeah.
If they ask, you
$5
charge them
maximum
$5
discount.
more.
They will ask.
All right, we have a motion, a newly amended motion, or this is a new motion, yeah. 50 during the week, 55 during the weekend, $5 discount, or $5 discount for veterans or seniors, seniors starting at 65 or older, correct?
Yes. Thank you.
and veterans or military?
Veterans or military. Veterans at 65 or military.
Second.
Oh, we got a second by Mr. Boder. Any discussion?
Any more?
All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign. There we go. That was it for our new business. We're moving on to number 9. This is a public forum. I'm going to open the public forum at 5:18. If anyone would like to approach the park board, please step forward. Do we have anyone online? I'm going to close the public forum at 5:18. Number 10, this is a city admin report. Jennifer Bergman, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Just a couple of quick updates. As you know, the Charter Commission has been diligently working on changes to the charter. You also know that they did recommend changing the park board chapter of the charter. That ordinance did go to the city council. It passed the first reading. It passed the second reading. However, in order for a charter ordinance to pass, all 7 city council members must be in attendance and vote in the affirmative. So it actually took us 3 meetings to get that particular ordinance passed, and it did at the last meeting where we had all 7 members there. They also, in addition to that ordinance, the changes to the park board language, also made some changes to the $0.50 that was given to the Senior Center, the ARB, and to Brainerd Community Action. The Senior Center language was generic, where it said it had to be given to a program that provided senior programs, right? But the other 2 were very specific, where it said community action programs and the Northland Arboretum or Paul Bunyan Conservation Area. The Charter Commission recommended making those more generic. So now, instead of the Arboretum, it says green space organization within the city limits of Brainerd. The Community Action Program one has said an organization who does events or community action programs, and then the Senior Center one remained the same. So that did pass, and so that will be in effect in 90 days. Last night, the City Council had a budget workshop. The preliminary levy was set at a 2% increase over 2021's levy. The council last night did give staff direction. I think you can't vote at a work session, but the consensus of the council was to keep that 2% for the final levy. Couple of other things that I thought might interest you. We are continuing to move forward with the PEG channel. I think it's been 2 years since any of our council meetings or board or commission meetings have been simulcast on cable. We do have a solution to that. We are no longer working with Lakes Area Media Collaborative, but we are creating a partnership with CLC, and they are going to help us do that. So ultimately, Council, Park Board, Planning Commission, we will all be back on cable again. I'm hoping that is the case. Yeah. Oh, trust me, Kevin, that was a lot of the discussion.
Better shave.
But we get a franchise fee. So our cable.
If our viewership goes up.
I can't wait for another raise.
We're exciting meetings, guys. It's gonna be
Yeah.
dancing.
Autographs.
Yes, Jennifer.
Last but not least, just wanted to update you on the streetlight policy. Paul probably could share more than I can, but just so you know that the council is working on a streetlight policy through the Safety and Public Works Committee. Right now, they are just waiting for some prices on the various different streetlights that we're looking at. So, and that really is just to kind of try to help make this a consistent process when people either want a streetlight turned on or turned off, and then it'll help make some consistency in the type of lights we're using throughout the city. That, Mr. Chair, concludes my report. Unless you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Mrs. Bergman. Mr. Sandy, please.
I think
Oh,
Mr.
sorry.
Shea-
Was there a question? Oh, sorry. Ms. Shea.
Jennifer, would that streetlight policy affect streetlights that are in parks?
I'm going
as
to
well?
defer to
No.
Mr. Sandy.
Okay. Parks have their own.
No, because we would hope that we would try to get some consistency across the board, but the park board is in control of everything in the park. So obviously, we would show you guys what the city council has decided to do. It's not really going to touch on lighting of paths or anything, and so certainly it's something that if we wanted to look into that a little more from a park board side too, we could continue this discussion once the city council kind of makes its decision on the roadway lighting type of infrastructure.
Cool, thank you. I'd just seen the BPU plaques on the streetlights and kind of wondered what that was like.
All right. Anything else? Any question for Jennifer? All right, Mr. Sandy, you're up.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So in my report, a couple items. We did perform 8 interviews of the vacant parks maintenance position on November 16th and 17th. We did have 52 applications. We pulled 8 candidates for interviews. We did select a candidate, and we're hoping to go to council with that candidate on December 6th. I think Chris is working through all the pre-employment testing and things that have to happen. We're very, very excited for this candidate. He really interviewed well, had a great application, has a great amount of experience doing different things. So I'm really looking forward to getting him on board. The Mississippi Landing Trailhead. So the mayor and I actually went to a school board meeting last night. There's a small triangle parcel of property near that park site that we were looking to get deeded by the school board. The school board did approve deeding that property over to us. And so we're working with the city attorney to get that deed done and recorded. Otherwise, the project management team has been working very diligently every 2 weeks meeting to discuss all of the different amenities in this park. It's a great group. There's a very good summary that David Chansky put together that I took from his council report and put it in here. We have discussed the restrooms, the amphitheater, the canoe kayak launch, river steps, overlooks, the promenade, the trailhead features, site furnishings, signings, wayfinding, and play spaces. and it goes over kind of what the group has discussed and kind of decided on to move forward with. And so if there's any questions about that from any of the members, I can certainly answer those. As Jennifer kind of referenced the 2022 budget, we've been working closely with the finance director, Connie Hillman, to finalize our budget through the process of just obtaining quotes from our suppliers. If some things increased a little bit, some decreased. In general, those things tend to just even out. And so my report being in the packet after the workshop is a little bit behind. They did set the preliminary levy at 2%, and it sounds like the direction is to move forward at 2%. Last but not least, our maintenance staff has been working on hanging lights downtown, putting the lights in the large Christmas tree at City Hall. They've been working on building the skate boxes and coat hooks and everything for our new warming house. They've also been working on the campground and just doing other small maintenance items. We had our first snow event that they did work to plow trails and things like that too. So it was a busy month, kind of transitioning, turning water off, getting things winterized, and then moving into snow removal and ice making season. So I guess that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Turn it over to Katie, I guess, unless there's questions on mine.
Any questions for Mr. Sandy? All right. If not, all right, Katie, please.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Real quick, recreation, our plaques for all of our fall sports have basically been they've been created and they're most of them have been distributed to the team managers. Our postseason meeting for our summer and fall sports, we actually canceled it due to low interest, but I think we're actually going to get a better product in survey. So I sent out a survey for each league and a lot of more detailed questions, really pinpointing how we can improve the leagues, what we can do to better serve each league. And I did ask a question about concessions, so I will be evaluating those surveys next week, and I'm hoping to transition into a nice concession plan for you guys next park board meeting. I'll be working with Kim on what that might look like for 2022, how we're going to make adjustments, that type of thing. But yeah, I'll be looking at some of their feedback and potentially needing to do another survey depending on how they respond to the surveys. So that's with adult sports. And then as far as our winter sports, so for pond hockey, we have that registration open. Right now, it's not looking so great as far as enrollment, but I don't really foresee anyone signing up until December, and we start getting actual ice made, people start seeing the ice. We'll start making a decision on whether or not we have leagues or not based off of our enrollment on December 17th is when the deadline is, as far as before the late fee goes into effect. Paul already mentioned all of the things that are going into the warming houses right now. I'll be working on labeling the skates that were donated. We paint sizes on them, so for the loaner skates. So I'll be doing that. We've received a lot of donations for that. Special events, Halloween took place. We roughly had about
That's cute. Well done.
30 to 40 dogs, owners there. As you can see, it's got a couple cute little costumes. The chicken waffle one, a dog named Spooky. And we had a couple good tricks. My dog obviously was amazing, sang, howled to Sweet Escape, Gwen Stefani, so it was awesome. So that
practice that at
happened.
night?
What?
Do you guys practice that at home?
Oh yeah, yeah, we practice for sure. Next event will be Santa Paws. We have dog daddy services coming. They're gonna be Santa, have a Mrs. Paws, and then we'll have an elf there to take pictures, aka me. And that'll just be a fun event for dogs to get their picture with Santa Claus or Santa Paws. Next, I've definitely focused on getting our likes and follows for social media up. As you know, it's one of the more powerful sources of media right now, getting the word out, and I think that's something in the future, Brainerd Parks and Rec or Public Works for that matter, educating the public, getting people into our events as we start focusing more on events. So, yeah, that's my update. And that I'm interviewing for warming house attendance next week. So we'll get that all set up and ready to go.
Any questions for Katie?
I have one.
Please.
Do you think that we need to push the youth sport, like the fact that that's our only youth sport that we're offering now? Do you think that, because everything else we've, the Y, obviously you know where it is, but do we need to let people know that we are still doing hockey?
Yep, I did send out a mass email to all of our previous enrollees, so they should have got an email if they participated in the past in pond hockey. I'm also going to put together a press release for Jennifer when she goes and does community focus at the radio station. So, and then I'll probably send out a press release in the next few, tomorrow, let's say. So, yeah.
All right.
Anything else?
Your social media addresses, that's all Facebook, I assume?
We have Instagram also.
Okay, and do we have a Twitter?
Technically, yes. It has not been, I have not done anything on Twitter for a while. It's a very specific population, I would say, that uses Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, did you have something, Troy?
Yeah, I just have, with that being said, Paul, have you heard anything from Community Ed and or the YMCA as far as reestablishing our contracts for next year?
Yes, we have. So we actually, we're going to ping the YMCA. Theirs is going to be pretty easy, I think. We've been in talks with Community Ed. We had one meeting with them already. They did send us a draft budget. We're planning on sitting down with them again, I think mid-December, December 13th, to just go over that budget, make sure we're on the same page, what it all means, go over what their ask is. Right now, they're asking for $13,000, which is an increase over what they asked previously. We did revise our budget to reflect that number, but we're going to go over there and discuss that with them and make sure the contract is good, if there's any red lines that need to happen for next year, and then a draft of that hopefully back to you guys, either most likely the first meeting in January.
Good.
And you'll have a good feeling, I would guess, for our 14th meeting, how your 13th meeting went? That you can share with us?
Yeah, definitely. Yep, I think we're on a good track. I don't think their ask by any means is outrageous. I think they have some good reasoning behind the increased cost, and it was kind of a shot in the dark the first year, and I think they figured out a lot of things on their end and on our end. We learned how to work together and get things to operate smoothly, and the things that went wrong we make changes to, and I think it'll be just even better next year. I think it went pretty flawlessly for a first year with someone new, and we also obviously had our hiccups, but nothing that can't be overcome. And so the new director been very good to work with so far. Very good first meeting with her, and so I'm just looking forward to continuing those conversations with her and understanding their budget and understanding, from our end, what we need to receive in a timely manner, schedules and things like that for field usage is really the big one for us. So just those conversations are still ongoing, and we should have some in front of you at a minimum the first meeting in January.
Awesome. Anything else, guys?
Item 12 says adjourn. I would like to make that motion.
We have a motion to adjourn by Mr. Boder and a second by,
Before we do,
yes?
how many project management team meetings are left for the MLT trailhead?
6 or 7, right?
Okay, is there someone else that wants to step in? I have to back out of that. I have a new commitment that's come up that I have to be every Tuesday, unless we can change the times. I have to be somewhere every Tuesday at 6 o'clock now.
Perfect. Yeah, our next one is coming up next Tuesday, so, yeah. Paul? Oh, I thought I heard Paul, sorry.
Just from that standpoint, I'll talk to David about this a little bit, but I don't know how many we're going to have. After a couple more meetings, we're going to be into the nitty gritty details of a lot of stuff. And so, you know, we wanted to get to kind of a 30% conceptual design with this group, and then really turn the reins loose on WSB and letting them get us to a 60 and a 90% set using the
Right.
items that we've talked about. So I don't even know how much we really have left. You know, last meeting we had some struggles even kind of coming up with content on things, on what we need to talk about yet. So I think we're starting to get far enough into the weeds where this group might have to reconvene maybe on a monthly or some kind of basis instead of the bi-monthly. It just seems like there's not enough time in a lot of cases for them to really pull together a lot for a bi-monthly meeting.
All right, thank you, Paul. So I guess what I would say, if somebody wants to jump in on the last couple of meetings as a participant, we certainly have an open seat. If not, I'll be there and I can report back, so totally up to you guys. I think both of you two indicated that you'd like to maybe be a participant early on, but under no obligation now. So totally up to you. The next one is next Tuesday, and those are at 5:30. And they're at the second floor in the conference room. And then they go every second Tuesday. So, quite honestly, there's nothing preventing both of you from coming if you want to come, to be perfectly honest. I mean,
Yeah, but wouldn't that be a quorum?
That's a quorum.
oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's correct. So,
If you can make it work, Andrew, you should do it. 'Cause I can't make it work until January, if you needed someone to.
there isn't.
Yeah. So, plus I think it'd be hard to come into a meeting. But I think, if you have good experience for you, if you've never done it,
Yeah,
it is
if you
really
want.
interesting. If you're-
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. We have a motion to adjourn. And we got a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.